Hey there fellow marketers, Professor Wolters here, and today we're in Miami Beach. And today we're going to talk about is value in pricing. Because we as companies, as organizations, as businesses, really need to understand how our clients and customers value our products and services and how they value things in general. And so I want to kind of go through a few different values, like kinds of values that customers have, all right? Because one of the big ones we have to look at is what's called perceived value. And perceived value is basically we're looking at the perceived benefits, like the good things I want to get from this product in comparison to the price I'm going to have to pay. Now the thing is, when I say the price we have to pay, when you're looking at perceived value, it's not just the price tag. I mean, yeah, the $500 price tag is one thing, but then we have to add more onto it, okay? How much is it going to cost for me to install this? How long until it works? Do I have to train my employees? Do I have to train myself? Is there special handling fees? I mean, you have to look at all this transportation, the risk of failure. I mean, what if this product doesn't work? You know, all this has to come together in our kind of price, and that's what customers are thinking about. That's why it's important you talk with your customers to see what are some of their hang-ups, what are some things they're thinking about that's going to influence their perception of value, okay, their perception of cost, because it's all the things that go in there. And so we take all these kind of prices, all these parts of the prices, but also we look at the perceived benefits they get. And that could be, you know, the physical attributes of the product, right? It's a prettier product, it's got a better design, the camera's better on the phone. We're looking at all these things that are there, and we see that, hey, some of these things are more important than others. For example, for me, I love making these videos, so I know that new camera's got to have a really good camera, really good camera. It needs to have long battery life and big storage, because that's going to be much more valuable to me than the economic price. So I might see that, hey, that perceived value is actually pretty high when my, I've got a Samsung, and look, I can put a 500 gig chip in there. The camera's really good. The battery lasts a long time. Yeah, it costs a lot more than than a track phone, but those benefits I get really make it worth it. And that's where you're looking at this perceived value. It really is kind of balancing the perceived benefits versus the costs that are out there, the price that are out there that deals with this product. So that's one thing you got to think about. The thing is, if we look at this in terms of airline tickets, I flew down here to Miami and I used Delta. Why did I use it? I mean, their tickets do cost more, and I did have to drive to not my hometown airport to fly out. But why was it? Why did I do that? Because I perceived the value was worth it to drive the hour to the airport and park there because, oh, that airport had free parking, and I fly with Delta. They usually give me an upgrade. The people are really nice. They're usually on time. I'm like, for me, that was worth it versus flying one of the cheaper airlines that aren't always on time. They cancel. They only fly once a week. I wasn't worth it. That risk of failure, like, hey, they don't go this week. It wasn't worth it to me. And so that's where you're going to see is sometimes with the perceived value, you can get people to buy stuff that's a lot more expensive because they see the value in it. It's worth it. But the thing is, it's not always worth it in terms of the perceived value, because some people have what are called economic value. How much is just straight up economic wise the value that's there? And here we're looking at things like, the purchase price, the post-purchase stuff that goes along with it. I mean, will this product help me, get farther in my job or get farther in my business? And you might say, you know what? It may not be the best airline to fly with, but I can't pass up flying with Ryanair when it's only 30 euros to fly from Poland to Rome, whereas if I had to fly KLM, it would be 200 euros. It's just not worth it. And sometimes you'll see that the economic value can trump the perceived value because it's such an economic deal. And this economic value, if you're a seller, it really helps you to kind of focus on the buyer's perspective. Like, look at their economics. Yes, we all would love great service. We all would love to be treated like kings on airlines. But the fact is you don't always have the money to fly first class on, some airline. You got to take the Spirits and the Ryanairs that are, $30 to fly to Florida. Hey, you know what? I don't really care if the service is nice. I don't care if the plane is clean. Are you going to get me from point A to point B for $30? I'll be fine. I don't expect much with that. And so you can look at that economic value and see how people kind of will trump the perceived value because, hey, look, the economics just make it I have to work with them. If you're thinking about it in movie theaters, they have to carry those Marvel movies. They have to carry those Disney movies because people still go out and watch Disney movies. They still go out and watch Marvel movies. Even if you're like, oh, they're going to put it on Disney Plus in 45 days, I'm not happy with it. But the economic value of having 45 days of the newest Spider-Man movie or the newest Avengers movie is too much for them to pass up. Now, the next value I want to talk about is what's called negotiated value. And negotiated value really is, it's how the kind of negotiations play out. So when I travel around the world, I like to collect masks, okay? And everywhere I go, there's never really a price tag on there. It's more, hey, how much is that mask worth? And then they give me a price and we kind of negotiate with it. And I have an idea of how much it's worth to me. And they have a price they start with. And that negotiated value, hey, if I think I get a good deal, I remember I was in China and they're like, oh, that mask there, it's $50. I'm like, no, in my mind, I'm like, I'd be happy if I got that for 20. Negotiated down, we talked, we went through, I'm like, it's a cool mask, but I don't know, there's other options with the people out there. Got it down to about $15, and I'm like, hey, that was a good deal for me. I was happy with it. I know that they made a good deal on it because it only cost about $5 to make it. So it all worked out. So that negotiated, I feel good thing, that can work as well. That's why when you go buy your cars, right, they're like, oh, I got to go talk to my boss in the back and see what they say. Well, you can do that, and then you feel like, oh, well, I negotiated that price lower. You feel good, they make their money, and so you have this kind of good, bad, good deal, bad deal kind of thing happening. And so when people feel like they got a good deal, that's negotiated value. And you can plan that out if you have products and services you sell where you negotiate the final price. Now, the next value I want to talk about is aesthetic value. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm here on South Beach and the Art Deco buildings here are so cool, and we're actually staying in a hotel that is an Art Deco building, and the fact that I'm staying in an Art Deco building, that aesthetic value, just it's more attractive, it makes me feel better about staying here. Yes, it costs a bit more, but man, it's a cool hotel, right? And sometimes you have that. Think about it, the clothing you buy, I'm like, man, that is such a cool shirt, I'm glad to pay more for it because I look so good in it, right? And so you have these kind of aesthetic value that you can bring in. That's why packaging and marketing and branding become very important, because it can raise the aesthetic value of products and services, okay? And then the last thing I want to talk about is what we call relative value. And relative value is when we're looking at in comparison to other things. If you watch my videos, you know I am a huge fan of Culver's restaurants, right? But the thing is when I look at Culver's, when I compare it to others, I mean, the relative value of Culver's, hey, I know it's not a fancy pub burger, but for a fast food cheeseburger, that's pretty dang good. Like, I feel like I'm really getting some out of it if I compare it to other things, okay? If I compare it to, fancy burger joints or a pub burger, I'm like, yeah, for $6, that's a pretty dang good deal. I'm cool with that. Because in comparison, it gives me a lot of relative value, okay? So you might look at that. And these different kind of values, the reason why you want to know those is so you can better understand your own customer and what's important to them, what do they value, because different customers have different values, okay? And if we look at it, you look at tourist destinations. South Beach, I mean, it's about the aesthetic value. You got the beautiful people walking down Ocean Drive, and you got the restaurants and the bars and all this kind of stuff, and the vibe and the Art Deco, like, aesthetic value is really nice. Economic value? Heck no, man, they're ripping you off all the time over there. Everything's overpriced, but it's so cool. You're like, hey, I'll live with it, right? And so you kind of go through all these different things. If you look at economic value, think of the places your parents took you to when you were a kid. Do they take you to far off destinations, or do they take you to Myrtle Beach, an affordable family destination, or do they take you to the Wisconsin Dells, affordable destination near Chicago? They saw the economic value. Yes, it'd be great to take my kids to Europe, but I can really more afford and get enough boom for my buck going in on the water slides at the Dells in Wisconsin, okay? So just some things for you to think about, all right? So I hope this helps you understand a bit better some of the different values that customers have. If you want to learn more, subscribe. We put out business videos all the time. Bye from here in Miami. Well, actually, Miami Beach. Miami's the way in the distance. We're actually in Miami Beach here at South Beach. Bye.